with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You have faith in God, have faith also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If there were not, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back again and take you to myself, so that where I am you also may be. Where I'm going, you know the way." Thomas said to him, "Master, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way?" Jesus said to him, "I'm the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." The Gospel of the Lord.
Brothers and sisters gathered here in large numbers from different places, in particular, Nimi and Alec, parents of the late Sean, whom we have come to honor and bury. Moments like this are not expected, or we do not foresee it, but they suddenly come upon us and touch us most deeply because we are filled with pain and sorrow, and also a sense of sometimes not understanding why things happen in the way they do. At these moments, it is only our faith that gives us immense courage, that gives us deep insights into what is life and what God expects of us. We are in this season of Easter, where constantly Jesus, the risen one, tells the disciples when he meets them, "Do not be troubled. Peace be with you." These are people who are troubled, who are agitated, who are fearful for what things are going to happen to them. And yet, to them does Jesus say, "Peace be with you, do not be troubled." As we gather here, we have those same feelings of sorrow for somebody who was so close to us, who was part of our lives, is suddenly wrenched away, taken. No more can we interact with him the way we did in the issues or projects that we might have had at hand. Looking and reading about Sean, we realize that he was a person full of life, with a great eagerness to develop himself intellectually and politically and morally, etc., and to bring the fruits of what he had done to the world. I think that's a great quality, where we do things not only for ourselves, but so that society and the entire world may benefit from what we are doing. And in that sense, his laughter, his music, his commitment are things that are a legacy to us, that tell us that we too, who are alive, who have got many years ahead of us, can put our best years in serving God, in doing something meaningful with our lives. When we reflect on a life, we reflect on what made that person be what he or she was or is. In the case of Sean, we can only thank his parents, Alec and Nimi, for giving him a great foundation, for training him in the best possible way so that he would be committed to God and to everyone else. I think of so many examples of people, parents, who in simple ways transform their children. I remember two religious sisters telling me in India, in Tamil Nadu, that they were a very poor family in a village, and their mother always insisted there would be a pot of water outside their hut, so that anyone passing by in the heat of the noonday sun could drink a little water and proceed. Well, water was a scarce commodity. The mother herself had to go a long distance to bring that water from a well. so that it could remain there for people. And people treasure the goodness of that lady. And I think that's the goodness of parents that comes to bear in the lives of children. Things happen to us and we often do not know why they happen. A woman writes about how she was very devoted to her father. Her father had Alzheimer's. She cared for him day and night and really doted on him, but he died. And she was very distraught, almost gave up on life, maybe didn't see any meaning in life. But thankfully, she read about this movement more after her father died and decided that she would commit herself anew to this Alzheimer's Association and do much more for people in distress or who had no one to care for them, like she was there for her father. So I think that's a great fallout of what sometimes tragedy brings about in the case of this woman, doing more than she would have done had she not reflected on it anew. I think life throws challenges before us. Each one of you know it. You'll have families, you have things that happen. Sometimes good things happen, sometimes very painful. As I said, things suddenly visit us and we have no control over them. I remember viewing a nice movie years ago of a doctor who was a psychologist. Hundreds of patients came to him for advice. And unfortunately, he lost his only son in an accident again. And he was unable to cope. His practice disappeared. People came to him and almost clenched his feet, telling him, "Do something, help us." And he says, "I cannot help you. It's over." I think for all of us, in particular for the parents of Sean, Nimi, and Alec, I have a great sense of trust in God, that God is with us. As the readings tell us, the souls of the just are in the hands of God, and no torment can touch them. From a human viewpoint, we may be thinking someone is lonely, lost, but the souls of the just are in the hands of God, and no torment can touch them. In our gospel, Jesus speaks of how he is going ahead to prepare a place for us, because he says, "In my Father's house there are many mansions," or dwelling places. It's actually a symbol for the heart of God. In God's heart, there is place for everyone. And Jesus assures us of that I am going so that I will make a place in my Father's heart, or the heart of God, for each one of you. No longer will you be troubled. On a human level, we might miss relationships and things that we treasured and looked forward to, but God knows the right time for each one to return to that loving heart of his. And so we are assured, my dear brothers and sisters, that life is not empty, that it does not end in vain, but it is a life full of promise of what is to come. We dwell in God's heart, and our joy is complete there. But on earth, we do experience pain and sorrow. It was good to see during these days so many of you coming together in solidarity and in courage for the family, the Suarez family, telling them that you are with them in their struggles and pain and sorrow. It is moments like this that we realize goodness, solidarity, beauty, and how God has made us loving and caring. For while on earth, Jesus himself shed tears for the death of Lazarus, was moved to pity when he saw the young boy dead in front of his widowed mother. And he did what he could, lifting them up, raising their spirits. They would die again one day, but at least for some time, they knew God had intervened in their lives, that God had touched them in a way that they had never seen before. May that experience be for all of us, that God is a loving God, and in his heart, we all have a place. Amen.
The response is, Lord, hear our prayer. For Sean, who in baptism was given the pledge of eternal life, that he may now be admitted to the company of saints, we pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
For Sean, who ate the body, the bread of life, that he may be raised on the last day, we pray to the Lord.
Hear our prayer.
For our deceased relatives and friends, and for all who have helped us, that they may have the reward of their goodness, we pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
For those who have fallen asleep in the hope of rising again, that they may see God face to face, we pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
For the family and friends of Sean, that they may be consoled in their grief by the Lord, who wept at the death of his friend Lazarus, we pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
For all of us assembled here to worship in faith, that we may be gathered together again in God's kingdom, we pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer. Loving God, giver of peace and healer of souls, hear the prayers your people have made and the voices of us all, whose lives were purchased by the blood of the Lamb. Forgive the sins of all who sleep in Christ and grant them a place in your kingdom. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Like a bird to the Lord, my soul. I want to soar
morning, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Audie Barreto, and I'm Sean's second oldest cousin from his dad's side. My older sister, Michelle, and I had the privilege of being here with Auntie Nimi from the day she found out she was pregnant with her miracle baby, Sean, up until he was born. The reason Auntie Nimi called him her miracle baby was because she had to spend many months in the hospital during her pregnancy. And as we all know today, what a profound impact this miracle baby has made, not only on each one of us present here today, but so many more. My Uncle Alec just adored Sean when he was born. Sean would never hear the words no from his dad for whatever he asked for. I remember Sean was not allowed to go anywhere without his two parents. They were constantly like, "Where's Sean? Where's Sean?" And they were your typical Goan Indian, two overprotective parents. Kind of reminds me of myself now with my own son. My cousin Sean, with his bear hugs and the most captivating smile, was one of the most cool-headed individuals I have ever met in my life. I'm sure you all can agree with me when I say that nothing could bother Sean, or rather, you would never know that he was upset or troubled because he always had that big gleaming smile. He had a huge heart and an immense capacity for helping others that could not be contained and thus had to shine outward through his smile. Auntie Nimi and Sean were the only two blood family members close to me here after I got married and moved to the US from Canada. The three of us, along with my husband's family, spent many, many dinner parties, Thanksgiving, and Christmases together. I will always remember that closer to the holidays, Auntie Nimi would call me up and would say, "What are you guys doing? Sean's driving down." My most recent memory was when we all got together for Thanksgiving this past November and met Sean's gorgeous girlfriend, Anna. When Sean introduced Anna to us for the first time, I knew these two were head over heels for each other. I could tell that he literally adored Anna. After seeing his posts on social media about his relationship with Anna, I knew we would definitely be having a wedding soon in our family. And I'm so happy that Sean had so much joy in his life with Anna. As we all know, Sean was so passionate about politics, a lover of music, a cat dad, Lily is her name, and loved crab rangoons. Sean's latest role was a policy and campaigns manager for clean energy and climate justice for the Virginia Conservation Network. He previously served as an outreach director under Governor Ralph Northam's administration, an outreach director under late Representative Donald McKitchen, and as a legislative assistant for Virginia State Delegate Suhas Subramaniam. After doing his undergrad in business administration, Sean also worked as an intern for Representative Donald McKitchen. Sean was currently completing his MBA at the Virginia Commonwealth University. As a community, we all knew that Sean was destined to become the United States governor or even president one day. Even though he was so young, Sean was an extremely accomplished individual with humility in strides. You would never know how much Sean had accomplished or how good he had done just by talking to him alone, because he never boasted. His actions spoke for him, and that's such an incredible thing. His amazing character and integrity was what garnered the respect and love for all those who met him. For one person to be loved so much by so many speaks volumes, and it's truly a testament of who Sean was. He always made it clear that he was willing to help anyone looking to get into public policy and politics, and was an inspiration to so many. Many of his close friends can tell you that Sean lived 2 separate lives, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was known to many in the EDM music world as Mesmerize. As a DJ, Sean's first big gig breakthrough was when he was invited to open for EDM sensation Tipper at the Anthem in Washington, D.C. I was always intrigued and curious to know what this type of music was all about, so I'd always ask Sean to describe it to me. I remember once asking him, "Do you think it will give me a headache? Or do I need to take some kind of external influence to help me enjoy this genre of music?" And he would always laugh and be like, "No, it doesn't." And but it would help. According to some of his close friends, Sean made his first mix and named it the decalcifying of the pineal gland. For those of us who aren't science experts, this particular gland in the brain receives information about the daily light-dark cycle and produces melatonin to help with our circadian rhythm processes. The pineal gland has often been the third eye and is considered to be an organ of supreme universal connection. Philosopher René Descartes proposed the pineal gland was the meeting point of the physical body and the mind, a vertebral seat of the soul, but also gets classified at a very high rate, and that impairs the pineal gland to do its job. Therefore, in his brilliance, the decalcifying of the pineal gland through music would mean to promote optimal wellness, clarity, imagination, and unblock your mind. He wanted his music to bring your mind to a state of Zen in order to be able to enjoy it purely. Dear Sean, you were taken away from us far too soon. We will always remember you walking into a room and the room being lit up. You were truly one of the best of us. You will always be a part of each one of us. You touch our hearts with your grace, charm, and beaming smile. This is not the end, but the beginning of a legacy of hope you have left behind for many. I cannot say enough about you, Cousin Sean, but I can simply say that I love you, and even heaven is so much better with you there. Until we meet again in heaven, dear cousin. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be here. My name is Delegate Suhas Subramaniam. I worked with Sean when I first got elected, and I'm really honored to be talking about a great man, a great public servant, and a great friend. The first time I met Sean, he was just a resume in a stack of resumes, but a really good resume. And he was clearly a very accomplished individual. But there were a lot of accomplished individuals who had great resumes too. But when I talked to Sean, I realized I was talking to someone very special. He was smart, he was kind, and we bonded over being Indian American, over our love of policy. And I had actually been a DJ too at one point, a failed DJ, but he even asked, he told me his DJ name, DJ Mesmerize, and he asked mine, I said it was DJ Soup, and he said, like a can of soup? And I said, yeah, so we never talked about my DJ career again. He's nice enough to do that. But after talking to him, I told my staff, I had to hire him, I had to have him on my team, and I'm so glad I did. It was truly a great experience working with him. And there are three things that I remember most working with him. I remember my first session, I had just gotten elected. I was doubting myself a lot. And I remember I'd go into a hearing and I'd present a bill and I'd come out of it and I wasn't sure if I'd done well. And Sean would be there with a big smile and just tell me, "You did a great job." And even when I didn't do a great job, he would tell me, "You did a great job and you were great, don't worry about it." And it got to the point where I'd tell my team, make sure Sean's outside after the hearing so that he can tell me I did a great job. But the second thing was he was genuine, and he, in a world where everyone wants credit and attention in politics, he actually didn't need that. He didn't need the spotlight and the credit. And in fact, I even had to tell my staff, when Sean does something, make sure I know that it was Sean that did it, because he never wants to take credit for anything. And that's really rare and part of what I thought made Sean special to me. And the third thing was, most of all, and I think all of you can agree, we just loved being around him. I loved being around him. He just brightened everyone's day with his smile and, with his kind words, and he was always complimenting people. You could tell his mama raised him right. You could tell that he came from a good family. And, after he left our office, he was only going to be there for the session. I was very aggressive in pushing him because I knew he'd make me look good. And the governor's office called me and said, we've got 2 roles, and Sean, I think, would be great for one. But which one do you think would be good? An outreach person or appointments? And I said, oh, he should do both. I think he'd be great for both. But the problem was I didn't actually tell Sean that. And so I had to call Sean and tell him I signed him up for 2 jobs. But he was the youngest person in the Northam administration. There was a lot of people, but he was the youngest. And he did 2 jobs, not just one. And he did them really, really well. And he made a lot of people proud, and he certainly made me look really good. And over the years since then, he's not just a former staffer. He became a friend and someone that was always a sounding board. I'd always want to reach out to him and see how he was doing. And we talk career stuff, politics, and just life generally. He would make sure I stayed hip music-wise and tell me what was trending so I'd sound good later on. But the last time he and I spoke in person, he came to my office in February in Richmond, and he sat down in my office and we just talked, and it wasn't even about politics mostly. It was just, what he was thinking about for the future. And I remember after that conversation, I'd had a bad day, and I talked to my staff and I said, I just met Sean, who used to work for me, and everything feels better. And that's how Sean was for, I know, a lot of us. He always made us feel better, and that's really special to me. And I'll end with a conversation I had a few years ago. One of my best friends passed away about 5 years ago, and I still keep in touch with his mother. And she said something a couple of years ago that I think is very relevant to today. And she said this, when it happened, I couldn't believe it. I was angry with anyone involved. I was angry with myself. I was angry with even God. Why him? Why now? But as years have passed, I've started realizing that my son's time with us was a gift. And like many gifts, it was never meant to last forever, but that doesn't mean we can't appreciate and celebrate and be grateful for that gift. Sean was an incredible gift to us, and one that brought us joy, and one that through his public service and through all that he did made our lives a little better. And I hope we will always remember this gift. I know I will be grateful for it. I know you will as well. Thank you.
We are gathered here to bid our last farewell to Sean, and we will bless the body again and ask God to receive him into his eternal embrace and to comfort his parents and loved ones. God in his wisdom knows the span of our days. He has chosen to call to himself Sean, whom he adopted as his own in baptism. The body we must now bury will one day rise again to a new and radiant life that will never end. Our firm belief is that Sean, because he was baptized, has already entered this new life. Our firm hope is that we shall do the same. Let us ask God to comfort his family and friends and to increase our desire for the joys of heaven. Let us all, with great confidence, pray to our Father in heaven, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. We ask Our Lady, our Mother, to be our guide and intercessor in heaven and say, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Your response is, On the last day I shall rise again. I know that my Redeemer lives. On the last day I shall rise again. I shall see him myself face to face, and my own eyes shall bestow my Savior. On the last day I shall rise again. Within my heart this hope I cherish, that in my flesh I shall see God. On the last day I shall rise again. Saints of God, come to his aid. Hasten to meet him, angels of the Lord. May Christ who called you take you to himself. May angels lead you to the bosom of Abraham. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. As we gather here once again, we reflect on his life, on all the good that he did, and give thanks to God, and pray that we might all be blessed also to live good lives of service, of goodness, and of help to one another. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Sean would drive up to DC to play a show on a Thursday night and then go back to work the next morning to help write policies to make his world a better place. In addition to being passionate towards his hobbies and interests, he was also a being of natural intellect and wisdom. I personally will cherish the 3 to 4 hour long conversations we would be on. And during these calls, we would talk about anything and everything from work, music, politics, whether we both were in a good mental space or if we were feeling like there was room for growth in our lives. We tried theorizing the reason for existence and the meaning of life itself, and were able to ground ourselves back to reality once we figured it was about time we hold our thoughts for the next conversation. So something that the priest said today during his gospel was, sometimes God will call his children when he needs them in heaven more than we need them here. And I connected with that because where Sean was in his life today, I think we all know how passionate he took his job. And if you're a friend that really connected him on a level where he's sharing everything that's going on with work, and then the next time he's moving on to what music he's now into, it was just amazing to hear him talk. And we used to love watching Family Guy together when we were kids. And there's this one episode where him and I were watching it together, and Peter Griffin, who, if anybody knows, is a really goofy kid, and he would say things, he was pretending to be a snobbish person who is very wealthy. So he would say things like, well, you see that BMW that pulled up? Well, I had that arranged. And my daughter's wedding is going to be on the riverside. And me and him shared the greatest laughter. And why I thought about that memory today is because I truly believe that Sean is already going to be doing that, pulling the strings for us from heaven now. I really think that he's already sharing his light with us in little ways. And a small example already happened to me the other day when on this entire week has been a little hectic, and I told my job, I said, Monday, Tuesday I work, I'm taking off Thursday, Friday, nothing doing. I have to be there for in any way possible. And on Tuesday, as soon as I'm getting off work, I'm getting ready to hop on this PowerPoint, and I'm like, I have a test to go to. And I check my email, and my professor is like, your test is going to be due until May 15th, and you can submit it online. You don't even have to go to class. And I'm like, thank you, Sean. I can't wait to. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Mark, my godchild, come.
All right. For those that don't know me, I am Mark. There's a lot that I could say about Sean. I mean, they asked me if I wanted to say a couple of words, if I had anything to say, and truthfully, I thought to myself, I have too many damn words I could say about this guy. I could talk for hours, weeks, days, months, years about Sean, truthfully. And by now, I'm sure most of you are aware that, I'm an only child. Same thing with Sean there. And we formed a brotherly bond pretty early in our lives. And, it's something that I was super fortunate to experience, just at any point in my life. Especially during the formative years that we, grew up together. It was an important time in us, finding and uncovering who we really were as people. And, we supported and valued each other's opinions, discoveries, and personal growth through the many incredible experiences we experienced all over the world, honestly. And it was whether it's with the community that our families built, or, the brotherhood that we were able to, just create through magnetic energy we all just shared between each other. It was a support system that honestly everyone in this life deserves. We had something special. And this is a moment I will never forget. Our obsessive love for music had taken us to take a leap of faith, broaden our horizons. We were going to travel halfway across the country, a huge deal at the time. We were gonna hop on a plane. We were gonna go to Colorado, so a place that I now call my home. So it was special. It was just him and I, and it just felt like the adventure of an absolute lifetime. And we were moments from entering the airport, and I know your mom pulled me aside, and she just looked me in the eyes and gave me just a heavily weighted sentence, watch over my son, my baby. And these words are forever ingrained in my mind, honestly, and I would carry it the rest of my life. I looked you directly in the eyes and I said, I promise. And then we proceeded to party like animals for the next week after that, so he was safe though, so. The student becomes the master. The student becomes the teacher. We all know these words too well. And I'm so honored and fortunate that we're all gathered here today to bear witness to these very miraculous words. Sean was quite literally the embodiment of these very words. And I was lucky enough to be a part of his journey, which turned him into the hero we would all eventually look up to. And our hero, the baby of the group, our hero. It's my first chance in life to truly be proud of someone I wanted nothing but the best for. And I had found my inspiration in Sean earlier than he will probably ever realize. In the last week here, the amount of voices that screamed to be heard in support of Sean were just absolutely deafening. And it was nothing short of just the amount of uplifting driving force that hammered in a message to me that was very loud and clear. We are all still here, and we're ready to carry on the positive change that Sean was so passionately set out on delivering to the world, both through his career and his music as well. It's our duty now, and I know that would be the best way for us to honor him. And I can actually see it in everyone in this room here, the passion, everyone's just dedicated to really honoring Sean as best as we possibly can, and it's amazing. This tragedy is an aggressive reality check to all of us, and I want to remind you all that it's okay to feel scared, lost, and just kind of shaken by this news, right? We bear witness that the fact that you can just do everything absolutely right in this world, and it's still just be gone in the blink of an eye. But it's the legacy, the message, and intention that you leave behind, and it defines us and who we are. And I know that everyone here will join me in ensuring the light that Sean brought never goes out, and that we may all leave behind an imprint on the world, leaving it better than we found it, just like Sean. I've said this before, I'll say it again here for everyone to hear because I do think it's an important message I'm also taking with this. So please, just listen closely here. Sean's journey was built not through the incredibly hard work ethics that he had, but it was also through the insurmountable amount of love and support each and every one of you in this very room, people on the live stream today from all over the world, all of you had given Sean and to each other. So love your friends, love your family, hold and hug them tight, give them endless love and support, and never stop uplifting them around you, even if they are the baby of the group. Mesmerize forever. I love you, Sean. My brother, my inspiration.
We can take a small break, I think, replenish your drinks, your food, or whatever. And then we'll talk again. There are some other guys waiting to speak.
Hello, hello. So, for anyone in the room that does not know me, my name is Remus Fernandez. The other person on the mic earlier was my father. I wrote a little something for our baby brother. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read what I wrote down, and just want to share a short a memory. So here goes. Sean Joseph Suarez was an absolute legend. He was admired for his unending resilience and dedication to the people around him. His life was dedicated to making the world a better place, and he started doing so with a remarkable kindness and enthusiasm. Despite the many obstacles he may have encountered, Sean never faltered in his mission to make a difference, and did so with that beautiful smile that would light up any room that he walked into. His memory will remain forever in the minds of those who knew him, and his spirit will continue to inspire us to strive for greatness. His life was a shining example of how one person can make a difference. And his legacy and love will live on in our hearts forever. I love you so much, my brother. I miss you. I just want to share one memory. I was in Richmond. I was going to go, me and Rebecca, who's my wife now, and I had a date planned, and I'm not going to get really into the story, but we found out that we were having a baby girl that night. And I called Sean right away. He was in Richmond, and I told him what happened, and he kind of chuckled, and he said, he's like, "Man, you better not be messing around with me. I'm gonna whoop that ass." and he came through maybe just a few hours later, and he was in awe, and I was looking at him, and he was just holding her, and it was one of the most magical moments in my life. And I'm never going to forget that. And he held Gianna, and it was perfect. It was nothing short of perfect. And but yeah, just this is for him. This is for our brother. This is for our friend. This is for a person who made such a huge difference in everybody's life at such a young age. He's a goddamn legend. That's all.
I believe Titus wanted to say something. Where's Titus? You know what? I don't even know your first name. Titus, where are you? He's gone? What about Sean Hattrick? Not Uncle Sam anymore. Sean Hattrick? You guys came up to me and said we want to speak. Okay, Randy, you and Caleb go. Come on. These are his, roommates till now. There's just one mic, okay?
Hi, as Manny has said, my name is Randy. This is Caleb. We are Sean's roommates. I've known him for a few years now, but two quick stories. As everyone knows, Sean loved his house very, 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 very much. And when he asked me about potentially moving in, I was like, yeah, that'll be great. And I said, let's just make sure everything's right, because we always want to make sure it's right. We both work in politics. So we had a little bit of a lease together, and anytime, because for those of you who have met me this weekend, I talk a lot. So anytime I would notice that he wasn't answering, I'd say, "Hey, Sean, where are you at?" And then eventually I'd come downstairs, "Hey, landlord, where are you at?" And that's when he knew. So I always just, when I knew that he was a little tired, I would just try to pep him up by calling him my landlord, and he loved that. But one of my favorite stories, and this shows to how he was raised and grew up, thanks to Nimi and all of his family. Oh, he loved golf. Let me say, he tried to love golf. The Lord blessed him with many talents, but I don't know if golfing was one of them. But one quick story, and then I'll hand it over to Caleb, was last year I went to London, and I asked Sean, I said, it's a really early Amtrak train to come up to Dulles down from Richmond. I said, do you mind, just you giving me a ride? And he said, yeah, sure. So it was around 5 in the morning, and I texted him. I said, hey, I'm up. Are you awake? And I let it go for a little bit, and I said, you know what? He's probably still asleep. I'll get up and just get a lift. And he felt so bad that I was on the train. He woke up like an hour or so later, and he said, well, let me pay for your lift. So he gave me the money. He gave me the money back just because he had told and promised that he would give me a ride. And it was $5, but that just was a testament to how Sean always was, thanks to Nimi and everybody, Alec and his whole family that helped raise him. So I'm going to, for once in my life, Anna, don't laugh, I'm going to be quiet and hand the mic to somebody else.
My name's Caleb. I also live with Sean, and I met him my freshman year at VCU, and he was the first person I ever met that shared a birthday with me. So Sean and I live together. We have the same birthday, same day, same year, and everything. I think he's 30 minutes older than me. But it was really great that I found someone that had my birthday, and I felt like, wow, I feel like we could be the same person. But then once I lived with him, I realized how different we were and just how human we are. But he doesn't feel like a human. Like, this dude was going to the Capitol, making policies, doing the best, something that he's very passionate about, his job, and then turn on a dime, come home, cook something, gym, and then turn on a dime, he's going out to a show to play, some music. And it's funny that you mentioned he would drive up to DC for a show, drive back down to Richmond, because we recently did that. And it's not like the college days. He had work the morning, and he was like, nope, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he would always tell me, he's like, hey, actually, before we hang out, I actually have to call my mom. He was always, super loving, and honestly made me feel bad. I'm like, man, I should probably call my mom some more often. And it really just raised me to be a better person. I know there's fruit tarts here. He absolutely loved them, but I thought it was terrible that he leaves the crust and all the fruits. So there'll be a fruit tart in our fridge, and then I'll open it. I want a fruit tart, and look at it, and there's just all this crust and fruits. I'm like, Sean, you can't just eat everything around inside of it and leave the crust and fruits. At least throw it away or something. But really, he just really, truly pushed everyone to be a better person of themselves, and I think he brought the best out of everyone as well.
All right, I'll just hand over the mic to Titus. Daniel, I just came to know his name, by the way. I'm just going to step outside for a few minutes, just take over.
Hi guys, my name is Titus, and I had the fortunate time of traveling the country with Sean. We went to Michigan together. We went to Virginia Beach multiple times together. We went to Atlantic City. We had so many fun times, so many adventures. And if you knew Sean, if you ever went to his 1521 house, you knew Sean collected posters. And one of the best memories I ever had with Sean was he collected a certain poster from a certain artist. We were at a show, and I was like, I'm just going to buy 2 posters. One of our friends didn't get one. I'll give it to Sean. Well, Sean was the first one I saw. And I was like, Sean, I got you a present. He was like, no, you don't have to do that, because Sean was like, I'm the gift giver. I'm not taking your gifts. Well, anyways, when I showed him the poster, his eyes lit up, because it was the one artist that he always collected. And he was like, do you know what this is? And I was like, Sean, it's just a poster. He was like, no, this is what I collect. and I didn't get one this year, and he gave me the biggest hug. And one more story quick before I get off here is I live in Northern Virginia. I used to come visit Sean a lot. My favorite thing about Sean was I'd tap him on the shoulder. He'd turn around. He'd either say one of two things. He'd be like, "Oh, what's up?" Or, "Oh my God, you're here?" And his eyes would just light up. He loved his friends loved him. And to everyone in the room, we're blessed to know Sean. Thank you.
Manny, you better come back. I'm not speaking. Yeah, it's a drink break. Okay. Oh, wow.
I don't need this mic, but I guess I'm going to take it. I'm also named Sean. I had the pleasure of meeting Sean through his music, through all the friends that have gathered here today. Sean was one of those people that his smile, everyone knows that smile, But I'm here to tell you one of the things that, as, young adults, I'm sure everyone has been there. We always like to peer pressure our friends to doing things they don't want to do, right? So one of my stories that we have, and everybody shares this with him, is when we wanted Sean to drink, we would say, "Sean shots, Sean shots, Sean shots," all right? So what I'd like to do right now is if you have a drink in your hand, whether it's water, tea, a cocoa, a hot cocoa, whatever you have, I'd like you to raise your glasses up, all right? And I'd like you to do one Sean shot, all right? Sean shots. Sean shots. Thank you.
Who's next? Would anybody else come up to the floor and like to share something? Thank you.
Hello, my name's Lewis. For those that know me, I'm gonna try to get through this without choking up. But for those of you that know me, I've been going through some medical issues that have required several months of very unpleasant treatments. And Sean would call me or message me like every week, and like I would tell him like, "I'm fine, I'll be good. It's good, don't worry about it." I don't know how this guy found time to reach out to me with his busy schedule, but it's just the kind of guy he was. Like I'd be like, "I'm good," and then like a week later, check up on me again. "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, I'm fine, Sean. How you doing?" And I would always try to like redirect it to talk about Lucy, because he knows I'm a cat person, and we like to talk about the cats and stuff. I met Sean through the music side of his life, and every time we'd run into each other, he was one of the people I always looked out for at the events. If I knew he was there, I tried to make a beeline to find with him, and I just kind of follow him around because I'm just kind of to myself. But like, there was something about Sean that like, I don't know, he's just warm, like, approachable. It felt like real, about him. Like everything about him was very real, but at the same time unreal. And then I was always very interested in the political side of his life. We had many conversations about, the things he was doing, and I just really enjoyed talking to him about that. We have many unfinished conversations. I really didn't think about what I was going to say coming up here. I just knew I had to say something. And there's a big part of me that still feels like I'm going to wake up any second. He'll be back. But I think that's all I got to say. Mesmerized forever.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi there. My name's Baxter Carter. I worked with Sean in the governor's office. I was involved in Young Democrats with Sean and was just a friend of his. One thing through all this that just keeps running in my head is that we work in state government and you meet a lot of people. And in that world, sometimes all the relationships aren't the most deep. Sometimes you talk to somebody and they're only talking to you because they want something from you. And I've talked to my friends about that, some who are skeptical of going to receptions, talking with people because they're skeptical about the connections that you make with people. And I hear that from people, but Sean really epitomized my thought and lived it through his life, is that he was an optimist about meeting people. And he thought that every person that he could meet was a chance to make a meaningful, positive relationship and really have the depth. And seeing the outpour of all the people that knew Sean, I know that's true. And I just hope that, at least for me, living my life, I'm going to have faith, try to have faith meeting people and trying to have the glass half full that people are good, because I feel like that's how Sean lived his life. And that's why he meant so much to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
I'm going to sit down for this. My name is Peter Faria. I was one of Sean's closest friends. Been friends with him for over 10 years. I'm just going to read off my phone. I've known Sean for over 10 years, and he was easily my favorite person. I've been traveling to Richmond just to hang out with Sean for over 5 years. I go down every month or so and spend a weekend there. We generally spend a majority of the time watching some random show or movie that he would always talk about. And we used to get random food because he knew that whenever I came down to Richmond, I didn't want to get normal food. He would love Chick-fil-A and pizza, and I just never wanted that. So he would always make it a point to look for something new, something that I haven't had, and say, hey, let's go out, let's try this, let's do something new. A few months ago, we went to this place with his roommate, Randy, and we really enjoyed it. It was a nice brunch spot. It was a lot of fun. And then I had come back up to Nova. And then I went down maybe a month and a half later, and I heard that that place closed down. And we were all like, what are we going to do now? We just found a new place. We really liked it. You know, it was another one place that Sean was down to go back a second time. And it closed down, and we were trying to figure out what else to do. But I just remember that memory of when he told me that and Randy told me that, and I was like, well, I guess we got to find something new. And one time we randomly went down. He has a place called Bingo next to his house down in Richmond, and it's like a barcade. They have like penny games, quarter games, or whatever. And he wanted to sit outside because he saw people setting up a band, and I was like, Sean, listening to live music? Like, this dude hates live instruments. And it was like a full 4-piece brass band with a drum set. And like, there was no electronics or anything. And I was like, how is this dude sitting here through it all? And it was called the Pay Rent Brass Band. And to this day, I'll never forget, every time they posted on Instagram, he would send me a message and say, hey, let's go for this band. Let's go see them. They're playing here. What are you doing? And he would always say, let's do it. That was another thing about Sean. He was a one person who, no matter what, would always message me and say, hey, let's go do something. I'm coming up to town for a couple hours. Come over. We'll order some crab rangoons. We'll just kick it. And I would always say, yeah. I would jump at his call every single time. I would just drop what I was doing, say, hey, Mom, Dad, Sean's in town. I'm going up there. I'm hanging out with him. I'm just doing it. And I would go there at like 9 p.m., and end up leaving his house at like 2 a.m. And my parents were like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? I was like, relax. I'm at Nimi's house, relax. And it was just a calming thing. He was also the one person who would always pick up my video calls or always call me back. And it was just something I really, really cherished because half the time people are so busy in life, especially with Sean and his busy. He had a full workout routine, a wonderful girlfriend, his entire career, everything he was doing. And he still made time to call back and just make sure, say, hey, what's up, just to talk. And that was just something that you can only get from parents, and it was just amazing to see. I wrote something that's not as personal, but kind of personal. Sean was one of the most loved people among the friend group. He was a baby of the group, but it never seemed that way. He carried himself with the utmost poise and professionalism. It really showed in his career. If you saw how passionate about politics and if you saw how passionate he was about politics and his job, you would never imagine that he was camping out in woods for music festivals with a bunch of random people he'd never met throughout the years. He was such an inspiration to many. Juggling this lifestyle would be near impossible for so many people, but Sean handled it with ease, and it was so amazing to see. He was extremely respected in the music scene as one of the most humble, nice, kind-hearted humans out there. He was a phenomenal DJ and was always there for anyone who wanted to learn or just try it out. He would always push people to pursue what they felt was right, regardless of the social stigma. That's one thing I admired most about him, that no matter what, he stood for what he believed in. It meant so much to him that he pursued a career to change the livelihood of future generations. He was so selfless. A friendship like this is irreplaceable and immeasurable. I'm so honored to have been a part of his miraculous life, and I will cherish our memory for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Is Uncle Sam here? Sean Hetrick, are you here? Oh, he's done? Oh, I was outside. So no, I just went to see Father off, okay? Part of my duties over here today. Anybody else wants to say something? The mic is yours, okay? That's what we got. Oh, there you go. We got a gentleman coming up.
Hello, I'm Zach. I've known Sean for 9 years, and I've known him to be such a gentleman and so polite and kind and a bit of a goofball. I'm very grateful to have had Sean in my life, and I'm thankful for his family and his brothers and all of those who have raised him. I'm just so happy to have met someone so amazing and just a beautiful soul. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Elena, and this is Sam. We also wanted to prove that Sean didn't have just guy friends. lots of guys speaking this morning. So we know Sean from Young Democrats, and I got to know Sean through living in Richmond. I had met him when we were both starting. He was in Delegate Subramanian's office, and I was in another office, and we met, and we connected because we're both from Ashburn, and the first question is, oh my God, what high school did you go to? And he said Stonebridge, and I was like, I guess we're not gonna be friends then, because I went to Briarwoods. But Sean was just a very special person. He was probably the most gentle person I've ever met. Gentle with his love for Anna, gentle with his love for his family and the way he would talk about you all. And last year we did a small retreat for our officers, and my favorite moment was we went to a farm, and we got to play with baby ducks that were probably 2 weeks old, and they're very, very, very tiny. And Sean is a tall, fit guy, and to see him just turn into an absolute mush over these baby ducks, and he went, "Oh my God!" was something I will never forget. And we were planning on trying to go pick up ducks at Bird Park after, which is a park in Richmond. We didn't get to that because we did learn it would be illegal if we had done that, and we didn't want to get in trouble doing that. But Sean was just such a special person, and I will carry his gentleness and try to apply that to my life and live how he did. And I'm just so thankful that we all got to share him. And so thank you so much to his mother, the way you all raised him. Sean felt like if we had been in elementary school, he would have been the guy, if we got picked on like the girls, if he was in our corner, like it just felt like nothing bad could ever happen with him. So we're very thankful. And it's Sam.
Hi, yeah, my name is Sam. For those who don't know, Sean was just recently elected with me at the Virginia Young Democrats Convention for a shared position that was at the national level. And I actually was one of the people who asked him to run for this. I called him after one of our board meetings and I said, hey, I heard you're interested and really like to talk to you about that and see if we're aligned in our goals and what we care about. And he said, really? Like, you want me to run? And I was like, yeah, we've served on the board for 2 years. And he just goes, but what have I done? And it made me think when the delegate was speaking today about how humble he is, he was just like, I haven't done anything. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I could look at your LinkedIn right now and list all these things, plus what you've done for us. And when it came time for our election, he let me read his speech beforehand, and he talked all about how much his parents meant to him. We were in a contested election. There was 3 of us. It was 2 ballots. I won't go too into it, but I said to him, like, you know, if you want me to go first, I think that either one, like, I think you'll win. And he was just like, okay. And he was so unsure. He was like, I don't know if I'll win, but like, it'll be cool if I do. And when it came down to the final vote count, he had 366 votes, and the second person had 72. I know. He didn't post that anywhere because that was who he was. He didn't like boast. I did. I posted my own. Like, I was one of those people. I was like, you should talk about this. And he's like, no, I mean, I kept my cool outside, but in my head I was freaking out. And I was just like, unlike me, who was like, faced like all that for him. And so that was just who he was. And I was really excited about the things that we were going to do together. And I just hope that I can accomplish that across this next year because he was wonderful. And he meant a lot to our organization. Thank you.
Hi. So, I think I have a little bit less experience and tenure with Sean than most of the people in this room, but I think that the love that we find for people is based in the recognition of parts of ourselves in them. And Sean, 4 months older than me, through his sense of welcoming, acceptance, and grace, helped enlighten me to the parts of myself at a major learning point in my life that I wanted to aspire to. I have a lot less tenure with Sean than a lot of the people in this room, but I think that in many ways I am the man that I am today because of him. Also, more importantly, tipper clothes from Mesmerize.
Hi, my name is William. This is my beautiful girlfriend, Sam. We've known Sean for close to 9 years. I met him when I moved to Richmond to go to VCU together. I was fortunate enough to live with him for several years, and we became pretty close at that time. We didn't prepare many stories, but I'd like to share some memories that come to mind off the bat with Sean and some other things. But I'll let my lady go first.
Hi. Yeah, so we've been obviously as mind blown as everyone else about this whole thing and kind of just like word vomiting about how amazing of a person Sean has been for the past like week. So I've been trying to summarize it on my phone. As you can see here, we have a lot to say about Sean. So I'll try to keep it quick, but I'll never forget my first interaction with Sean. I was 19 and I was at my first Tipper show ever at PlayStation Theater in New York City. Andrea Jones and Jonathan Singer. It was Tip Hop Night with Jonathan Singer. Everyone can be jealous. I had already known who Sean was through Steve's promo. We were both Steve's promoters. And I randomly saw him through the crowd, through this packed room. I was with my best friend Chaz, who tragically passed away in 2019. But so, you know, this is a kind of painful memory for me. But I turned to him and I said, "Isn't that guy Sean? Isn't that a Steve's promoter from Richmond?" And he said, "Yeah, I think it is." And we went over to Sean and had a quick conversation about how it was all of our first Tipper sets and we were all getting our minds blown. That kind of started a pattern of seeing him at shows all around the country. He often went to shows by himself. He had no problem doing whatever he wanted to do, even if that meant doing it alone. And maybe that's because his friendships were so strong that he didn't need them in his presence to feel their support. He could do anything on his own. Seeing him at shows grew into hanging out with him before and after shows, traveling with him, attending undergrad classes with him, and eventually having the amazing privilege of getting to know him on such a deep level when him and Will lived together as roommates for several years during college. I also got to know the people that loved him quite well and got to witness his friends pour so much love and support into him. He was so supportive of mine and Will's relationship, and he welcomed us into his deep-rooted friend group so easily. We felt so much love for him, and we loved him so much. He always celebrated our birthdays with us, and we always celebrated his with him. My favorite memory is camping with him right outside the amphitheater at Tipper and Friends 2017 for my 21st birthday. Will also spent his 21st birthday with him, driving halfway across the country to Missouri to see Tipper play Under the Eclipse at 4321. We got to share so many interests with him: music, art, gloving, school, community. We're so lucky our lives synced up with Sean for those years, and we got to share daily moments with him. We are truly better people because we knew and loved Sean. Here's some more of the summarization of the word vomit, but despite such a clear drive, passion, and fire for life, Sean was quiet and humble about his ambitions. His absence almost feels louder than his presence ever did, but he was exactly who you needed in a room. Someone you could always have a genuine conversation with. It didn't have to be long, but long conversations with him were so special. He was very low-key funny. He had a larger-than-life personality without being an extrovert. He filled part of a hole in my life that the loss of my friend Chaz left that I don't think will ever be filled again for the rest of my time here. His outlook on the world was so unique. He moved through the world in a way that always allowed him to excel, but he did it so selflessly and always had greater intention for helping others. I wish he shared more of himself with the world publicly, but you really had to talk to him to crack him open and get to know him. We've never met anyone with their head on straighter than Sean's, nobody operating with a moral compass like his. He navigated the complexity of life so eloquently. He had it all figured out, and the coolest part was that his friends got to watch him figure it all out. He was always challenging and bettering himself with the greater intention of making others in the world around him better. He was able to enforce boundaries while still being so kind. He was able to practice self-discipline without being hard on himself. He was able to pursue his passion so deeply and be an activist without pushing his opinions on others. He had so much drive to change the world. Sean was patient, caring, kind, and had a deep love for his friends, his girlfriends, and his cats, Tinka, Round Kitty, and Lily. He had such an ear for music and such a talent in DJing. He had such an appreciation for the beauty in the world and an art collection that would blow your mind. I'll never forget listening to play music in his room, growing into watching him play at venues all around Richmond, growing into getting him open for Tipper at the Anthem. We saw him throw down on McMahon's functions at Cabin Fest. We saw him play countless sets alongside famous DJs in his living room. And then we would hide up in his room when we didn't know anyone downstairs and plot how to kick everyone out. Sean perfectly executed a work-life balance. He passionately pursued a career in politics and policy during the day and threw the fuck down in the underground at night. He had quietly been involved in cultivating, curating, and nurturing the Richmond bass scene since 2016. He's been involved in some of the coolest shows that have come through in the past years. Watching him gain inspiration from the music ambassador scene to making a real difference in the political world and shaping his entire life around that passion was such a privilege. Like Mark said, truly the biggest tragedy in life is the world not being able to witness his story play out. Sean had so many more roles to fill in this life and so much knowledge to pass on to the next generation. He would have aged so gracefully and eloquently. He wanted to be here so badly and had such a clear vision for his life. 26 years is just a blip in the timeline of humanity, but Sean truly made the world a better place than it was when he came into it. We are so proud of you, Sean. You did so good, and we will carry that good on for you.
So, Sam here shared many of the memories that I also share with Sean. So, in conclusion, I feel like we all carry a piece of Sean so deeply in our hearts. He was able to touch us to our core, and I know that all of us would like to take his message for what he cared about in music and politics and making the world a better place, and to let that live on through everyone here today would bring him absolute happiness and peace, everlasting. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joey. I'm friends with Sean, Mark, Anthony over there. One of my earliest memories, and I think the first time I met Sean, Mark and Anthony were over at my house, and we were like sitting talking to my mom, and it was Mark's 21st birthday, and we were trying to figure out what to do for his birthday, and my mom was like, "Why don't we just have it here?" And I was like, "Mom, that's so embarrassing. Like, what?" And so we were like, okay, sure, you know, we can't do anything else. We'll just have it like in our basement downstairs. And so Anthony, myself, and Mark hit up like Rennick, Ray, Sean, a bunch of our other friends, and we put together this like little party downstairs in our house. And I remember like this memory is so vivid in my head. It was right when the new Skrillex Recess came out. So we were all like, dude, this is so sick. And so it was like we were all drinking too, of course. So it was like 4 a.m. and we're freaking bumping Skrillex, and me, Joey, Anthony, and Luke probably, and Matt are like screaming like over like Street Fighter. And Sean's like, "Can you guys shut up, please? I'm trying to sleep." Like from our guest room in the back, we just heard him screaming, and that is so freaking funny to me. Just like, it's so vivid in my head, and it's so funny. I wasn't super big into like the EDM scene, but one of the only shows I really went to was Bass Lights. I think that was in 17 or who knows. But I didn't understand like how. Yeah, I was probably at that one. I didn't understand like how into it people were, like how just blown away they were by the music and everything. Like I just didn't get it because I didn't go to the shows. I remember at that at the Bass Lights thing. We were all. Oh yeah, that was at your birthday party at MGM. Yeah, that was sick. But at Bass Lights though, I was like, yeah, I don't understand the hype behind this. Like, why do people get so into this? Like, I'm drinking, like doing other substances and stuff, like trying to have vibe, trying to vibe and have a good time. And then like, you know, Anthony and Mark around me and stuff. I look over at Sean, and Sean's just like face melting, like, and I'm like, oh my God, maybe I get it. After that shot, I went to VCU a lot and hung out and partied with like Sean, Rennick, Ray, Mark Anthony, and everyone. And like Sean and I had such a funny relationship because it was like everyone's describing Sean as like a gentle soul, all this, but he and I got like aggressively violent, like vocally. Like we would just like scream at each other's, like get in each other's face, like, dude, I'll fuck you up, like, you know, all this. And like somehow it just always ended up like both of us like laughing, big smile on our faces, like hugging it out, and like just that relationship is so special and endearing to me. And yeah, Sean, it's so tragic that Sean isn't with us today anymore. I'll love him and miss him forever. Thank you.
Anybody else?
It doesn't feel real, listening to all these stories from all of Sean's friends and coworkers. And I didn't introduce myself. My name's Jason. I'm one of his cousins. I also speak on behalf of all of the cousins. Sean was an only child, and I know how happy he got when, Caitlin and I would go over to sleep over. We'd beg our parents. And we used to live in Al-Khor. They lived in Doha. It was over an hour drive, but we really look forward to that. I remember playing, PlayStation 1 with him. He had the PlayStation that had the little monitor on it. It was really cool, and we would play these ATV games and. The funniest story, I wasn't allowed to watch Harry Potter growing up. All this, magic and all that spooky stuff. But, we would secretly watch it when we went to Uncle Alec and Auntie Nimi's house, watch it with Sean. And I really cherish those memories. And I learned that it's not that bad, Mom. We'd watch a little embarrassing story. We'd watch DVDs of Backstreet Boys. He loved it, and he's 3 years younger than me. But I really felt like I've heard so much today. His maturity level was greater than his age, and that's why I think we connected a lot. What we all did, and. He was a good kid. He was super timid, and that's why it warms my heart, but also blows my mind hearing these stories from his friends. It sounded like, unfortunately, when my family and I we moved to Canada, and you guys made the move to Florida. We didn't get to see him after I guess I was 12. He was probably 9. I didn't get to see him much after that age, but it sounds like from what all the stories I've heard is he really grew into a strong man, and the amount of confidence he exuded was great, and that's why he was so successful in his budding career as a politician and as a activist and spokesperson for just making things a better place in his community and things at large. So I'm really inspired by all the stories I've heard from everyone, and I also really want to get into EDM and start listening to all these songs and be able to connect with him in that way now that he's not here anymore. And I want to extend my condolences again to Auntie Nimi, Uncle Alec, Anna. It's unfortunate that we weren't able to, see each other for so long, but unfortunately under these circumstances. But at least we were now, and hopefully it won't be much longer until we get together again, and build the relationships that we just weren't able to maintain, So, thank you.
I just want to cordially invite you. We have friends who live all the way around the country, If you ever want to go anywhere music-wise, reach out to one of us. And the only thing I wanted to say was, you brought up watching Harry Potter. There are very many people in this room. Every year when we went to the Hampton Coliseum, no matter what year it was, Harry Potter was always on TV, and we always watched it with Sean. And Rennick would be the one who's, oh my God, Harry Potter's on again, guys, come to my room. So thank you.
I would like to say a few words. I would be remiss if I didn't say something. I don't lay any claim to knowing Sean like all his buddies did. But being such close friends of the family, I had the luxury of meeting him a few times. And at those few times, I saw in this young man, really polished, man of few words, but polished in his speech, in his deeds, in his actions, something that you don't see in young, growing gentlemen much today. They are a little more about the way of life, so to speak. But he was this very polished gentleman, very sober in both, as I said, words and deeds. And I'm so glad that I had those few occasions to interact with Sean. The parents are very close to us, and by extension, we got to be close to Sean. As you may have heard in Ortiz eulogy at the church, he is a miracle boy, indeed a real miracle. I want to tell you something about when Sean arrived. It was pouring cats and dogs in India, in Goa, on that day. It was raining so hard. And did any of you realize that today there was a fair amount of rain in the farewell to Sean? God brought him with a shower and sent him with a shower. And there's one thing that touched me so much today, and I won't hesitate to say this, that I could never, in my wildest dreams, ever think of the send-off that Sean got today, with all the honors from Loudoun County officers. They had stopped traffic at every single light for Sean to pass by. And countless of those people who stopped would have either said a prayer or bowed their head in honor of the casket that was passing by. We are so fortunate to have that. And we are all so fortunate to have known such a young, polished gentleman. We ask ourselves, why? Why at such young age? But none of us have answers. To Alec and Sean, I know how difficult it is to Alec and Nimi, I'm sorry, forgive me. How difficult it is to bear this loss of Sean. Anna, you've lost your love, the love of your life. I know how difficult it is, but know that we will always be there in both thoughts and prayers for you. God bless his memory.
Well, I'm Sean's dad. And, okay, we got Sean as a fourth baby. I'm okay? Okay. We had Sean as a fourth baby, and as a fourth baby, the first three were not fully formed. And when Sean was a fourth baby, I was really happy. But we wanted it to be a miracle baby. It was difficult because every time there's a lot of stress. And eventually Sean was fully formed, and we were all really overjoyed. I thank God that today we had Sean for so long, that's 26 years, an angel in our midst for 26 years. It's great. It's a great gift. If Sean even lived for 26 years, it's a gift. Okay, it's a gift that God sent an angel, and he lived with us for 26 years. And I'll tell you exactly why we moved down to America. As a child, me, okay, when I used to see different flags of different countries when I was a kid, the most outstanding flag was the USA. And I always had, I don't know whether many had this opinion, that the USA was the best country on earth. And everybody wanted to go to USA, a city on the hill, according to the Bible. Okay, now, we moved from from Qatar, and I think Nicholas knows about this because Nicholas was the last of his friends in Qatar, and we were moving to Florida to start a business down there. And Sean was not very happy when he started schooling in Florida. He used to always tell me, Dad, why did you come from the Middle East to America? I said, why? America is a dream nation of every individual across the planet. I said, just hold on. He said, I don't like this place. I don't like the schools. And at night, one day, he asked me a question. Because in the school, you know, they all come from broken families. So he asked me, Dad, are you going to divorce Mom? Now watch. I told him, no, Sean, we don't do that. Okay, because we are always supported by grandpa, grandma. We don't have any history that anybody was separated. I said, we don't do that. We are a mix of the Portuguese and the Indian. And we believe in the united family. We all live together in the same place, in the same house. So then when I came to Florida, he never liked it. And we changed 5 schools in 5 years to see that he was comfortable, but he was never comfortable. Then there was a girl in my neighborhood, just across the street over here. Her name was Tina, and she was my good friend when we were young, we were small, going to college together. So I got her number from somewhere, and I told Tina about the story of Sean. He doesn't like it, and we don't want to go back. I don't want him to go back to Qatar. She said, why don't you move to Virginia? Just come and see the place. I had another friend in Long Island by the name of Avril. She's from my place in Goa. So I called her up. She said, come and see Long Island, beautiful place. I went to Long Island. It was okay. But when I came to Virginia, I said, wow, this is the place. This is like Orlando. I mean, I loved Orlando, a modern city. And Tina showed me the school. Her daughter went to the same school. I said, Tina, I read the reviews. They're excellent. Now we need a house over here close by so that he could go to the Stonebridge School. And we got a house. And Sean, you know, when he was in Florida, used to always worry me to go back to Doha. He says, go back to Dubai. Dubai is a beautiful place. I mean, I don't know whether you all guys have been to Dubai. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. So he always like tells me, I want to go back. You take me to Dubai, take me to Doha. These are nice countries. I've got a lot of friends over there. So I said, no, we can't turn back. We have come to America, and we have to solve the problem. Why you're not happy in school? We can change the school. We can go to a different state. And we decided to come to Virginia. And I was happy that Sean liked Stonebridge School very much, and that the home was close by. Just last year, I asked him, Sean, after you finish your MBA, let's move back to the Middle East. He says, no, Dad, I don't want to come back to the Middle East. I'm very, very happy in the United States. I said, you like it now? You remember the time when we were in Florida in 2005, 2006? You used to worry me that we have to go back to Qatar because you didn't like the place. He says, no, I was a kid, but today I'm mature and I like the US. And it's okay. I never wanted to, take him back because I've always wanted him to have a career. Now, Sean entered politics. There's something very strange to me. Politics. So, and in according to our culture in Goa, and in India, we are more into studies, as you know. Every Indian wants to reach the highest rank of getting into the CEO of a company. And then when he told me that he likes politics, I said, okay, you can take a degree in MBA too. That's a second option. If you don't like politics, okay, you can be a CEO of a big company. It took some time for this thought of mine to sink in. And then he told me, Dad, yes, you said it right. I will do further studies. I said, great, go ahead, don't worry. It's obvious that today, I wish it was something else other than the MBA, but then we can't avoid it because, I mean, we did for his best and for his future. In case he doesn't like politics, he could always go and have a very senior management job in any company across the United States. And I always tell him, Sean, okay, if you pursue your CEO, I mean your MBA exams, you can work as a CEO in Dubai, because they pay very good salaries, Sean, over there, very good, so 3 times more than what you would get over here. He said, no, I don't want to live in America. I'll stay in. I said, okay. And that's how we got. Now, I loved Sean very, very much. The night we had a Qatar Airways flight, every time I was to go from here, okay, and I was to leave at about 8 o'clock in the evening, in the night. I used to shut off all the blinds, okay, at my house in Virginia over here, close by Ashburn, see if anybody could peep in, because I was very particular about Sean, that I didn't want him to get hurt. Okay, so I used to see that those blinds, they don't have any chance that somebody from outside could see Sean inside. Like, we were very particular about Sean. I mean, we had one near miss with Sean. This was in 2002. So we were in Muscat. And when we were in Muscat, one of the Omani, the Arab guys, told me, let's go for a picnic. You, me, Nimi, and we have 2 more Omanis, the Arabs, and there was another guy by the name of Brian. So I said, where do we go? He said, we go into a cave. We have to cross the sea and go into a cave. I said, okay, but is it safe? So he said, very safe. I know the place. And then they took us by this motorboat. But unfortunately, that local Arab guy, he didn't know which side to land the boat. And it was a high tide. And I said, oh God, this guy, we have to, I was shocked because I thought we were all going to drown inside that boat. So I took off my t-shirt, and Sean was just 2 years old. I tied Sean tight with the t-shirt to my tummy so that his face faces towards me. So when I swim across, I see that he doesn't swallow any water or nothing happens to him. And then we went out to the shore. I was so happy. I prayed that night, Lord, you saved Sean. And that was one place where I thought it would be the end for Sean. This was in 2001. Okay. Then there was another near miss in Florida when he was skating on those, skating, and he fell on his backbone and he could not breathe. And then the trainer said, don't worry, he'll be okay. Just let him take his time to breathe. And he was okay. I prayed in the night, Lord, you saved Sean the second time. And the Thursday, when I got the news on Friday morning, and I thought to myself, Lord, why didn't you allow me to be with him? Because he was always, I used to always call him Boo-Boo. He was my favorite boy. Whatever he used to ask me, okay, it depends. If he used to ask me something, but I tell him, you can ask me anything. Your water heater is broken, I can replace it. Your refrigerator is done, I can replace it. But you're talking about pocket money, now I have to think twice. You won't get it that easy from me. But he used to convince me, and he used to get it from her. Okay, so that was something. And there are a lot of memories I like Sean. I used to always tell him, Sean, why don't you sleep next to your dad? You never hold me. You hold mama tight, but you never hold your dad tight. Why is that? When I love you so much, no, Dad, this is not the Indian culture. This is the American culture. Because in India, if I hold him, it doesn't mean anything. It just means a love between a father and a son. But here he's saying it's different. If you hold your son, it might mean something different. I said, what do you care about that? He said, no, Dad. And then I used to feel lonely when I used to sleep on the bed. I said, Sean, you sleep between me and Mama. Never slept next to us because he always wanted to sleep. No, Dad, that's not right. Okay, whatever. Okay. But there were two jokes, okay, which I was really impressed in my lifetime. The one joke, he came to me and says, Dad, if I get my girlfriend pregnant, this was last year, would you accept the baby? So I was shocked. Possibly he's following somebody. So then I said, Sean, just keep shut and do it. So he says, what about religion? We can keep it aside. We don't need it now. But, whatever he wanted, I would always say yes to him. Whatever he wanted. So, because I loved him a lot. I missed him for the last 16 years. I was not with him. Out of this 26 years, I could not be with him because I was always in the Middle East. I've got my mother down in India. She has to be taken care of. Okay, so there was no chance that I could just shut down everything and come over here. It was a very complex life that I had, although I would love to be with Sean and Nimi very much, but it was just not possible. I tried thinking, yeah, I'm 61, I can't take the risk now. But if I was 35 years, I could shut down everything and come back to America. Okay, but when you're 61, you have to think twice. You're stable down in Dubai and you're stable down in Qatar, and then you have a mom to be taken care of. You just can't move back, and that will be always on my mind. And you know how the prisoners are asked in the prison over here, what's your last meal? Okay, and when they're supposed to go, okay, to the death row. But if God ever asked me, on your last breath, what would be your wish? And I would say, I want Sean at the gates of heaven. We have not completed my term with him. He was my favorite son. And I wish, Lord, if we were reincarnated, or he was reincarnated, needed, I would always want Sean as my first kid. Because I know I loved him, I never advised him. He was just pure joy in the house. There was another funny moment with Sean. It was the Lenten season, before Easter, 3 days. And it was Maundy Thursday, so we took Sean to church on Maundy Thursday. So then we said, Sean, okay. Next day was Good Friday. We have to go to church again. He said, okay, Dad. But why we have to go? Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday. I said, this is our religion. We have to go Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday. And then it was a Holy Saturday. It was the eve of Easter. And I said, let's go for the Easter Mass. So he says, Dad, what's this? Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday. And now we're going for the Easter Mass. Like every 3 days, we just continuously go to the church. I said, Sean, yeah, we have to go. Because if we plan to go to heaven, we need to go to church. He says, no, I want to go to heaven on my terms and conditions. So that was Sean. He was very bold, but very lovable. I'm not too much on emotions that I see him today. I'm not too much on it. But when I pray in the church, I will break down in front of Jesus Christ and weep one day and fight with him why he took Sean so early. I would do that because I fought it for my father in 1994. Okay, when my father was dying and my father lived 20 years later, he died in 2014. So he got a decent life for 20 years. And I'd always wanting to meet the Lord alone in the church and ask him, why did you take Sean when he was just 26? So it would take a lot of courage for me to weep, and I just don't want to weep because I want to have an encounter with God and with Jesus, why he took Sean at the age of 26 when he's young. And I loved him. I loved him too much. You know, when I used to come when I used to come from the Middle East to America, I was so overjoyed. I'm going to meet Sean and Nimi, and I used to see what they like: iPhones and gadgets and Bluetooth, whatever I could purchase from Dubai. I used to purchase perfumes, the high-end, whatever. And this time when they heard the news, I was sad. It's not going to be Sean anymore. And I had a lot of clothes in Goa which had to be put to laundry. So I opened my suitcase, just put the clothes inside, and flew to America to put my clothes into the laundry over here in Virginia. So that was the thing. I was not happy at all to fly to America without Sean. Okay, but we hope that we are ready to progress. We can't question God, whatever. But we hope that there is heaven. That's what they say, there's heaven. And we hope there's heaven. I'm not too religious. But we hope that he is in God's arms, Jesus' arms. We believe that. And we hope he'll get an eternal life. Although I personally, it's difficult to comprehend what is eternal life for me. But I wish wherever he is, if there's eternal life, there's heaven, whatever, that Sean gets a VIP treatment in heaven. Thank you.
My name is Edward, and I'm Alex's brother. Sean, of course, like everybody said here, has been very special very special to my family, very special to my kids, because we kind of like grew up together in Doha. I don't want to say too much, but one never wants to see his younger brother, in front of his son in the coffin. And that's kind of like when I was there, they kept the funeral service there. We were just arriving from Florida. We came straight down there, and that kind of like touched me so deeply to see my brother and of course his wife there with their child. We were kind of like debating like who is going to go. This was all in a shock, and everybody, my sister in Canada, she was like her husband had a medical appointment, and so we didn't know whether they were going to come, they were not going to come. And then I spoke to my niece, Aarti, and I said, look, I think I want to come and I want to bring my entire family here, because I feel that if it was Sean getting married, then we would all want to witness the wedding together, okay? And I said, we are not going to get that wedding. So I want everybody in the family, including my sister and her husband and her family and her children, to be all there for the funeral. And that's how we all came here. Also, I wanted to say that my parents, my mom and my dad, had Sean in a very special place. They loved Sean, and every time we would go down to Goa, my mom would always talk about Sean, everything like, oh, Sean. And I could see also how much they loved Sean, because Sean's photographs were all over the house. Everywhere you went, in every room, Sean's photographs were there. So they truly loved him too, very, very dearly. Thank you so much for you guys. Thank you.